The world feels like it is spinning in slow motion when the person you trust most shatters your reality. For me, that moment came not with a bang, but with a quiet, sickening ping from my wife's phone, left carelessly on the nightstand. My name is Mark, and this is the story of how my picture-perfect marriage turned out to be a carefully constructed lie. We were the couple everyone envied. Sarah and I had been married for 8 years, together for 12. We had a beautiful home in the suburbs, 2 amazing kids, and a life that, from the outside, looked flawless. Sarah was my everything, my partner, my best friend, the person I thought I knew better than myself. We rarely argued. We laughed at the same stupid jokes. We supported each other's dreams, or so I thought. The change was subtle at first, so subtle, I almost dismissed it as my own paranoia. It started with her phone. It used to be a shared space, a communal device we'd use to look up recipes or show each other funny videos. Suddenly, it was guarded like a state secret. It was always face down, always on silent, and she'd snatch it up if I got too close. When I'd ask who she was texting so late, she'd wave it off. "Oh, just my sister, or work stuff. You know how it is." I wanted to believe her. I really did. Ten kame, to late nights at the office. Sarah worked in marketing, a demanding field, so it wasn't unusual for her to have busy periods. But these late nights became more and more frequent. She'd come home exhausted, smelling faintly of a perfume I didn't recognize, and offer vague explanations about last-minute projects and demanding clients. I tried to be the supportive husband. I'd have dinner waiting, run her a bath, and listen as she complained about her boss. But a seed of doubt had been planted, and it was starting to grow, twisting its roots around my heart. The final straw was the girls' weekend. She announced it one Tuesday evening, her eyes sparkling with an excitement I hadn't seen in months. A spa retreat in the mountains with her college friends. It sounded wonderful. I encouraged her to go, telling her she deserved a break. I packed the kids' bags for a weekend at my parents' house, kissed her goodbye that Friday morning, and told her to have an amazing time. I even felt a pang of guilt for the suspicion that had been festering inside me. That guilt evaporated on Saturday afternoon. I was cleaning out the car when I found a crumpled receipt tucked into the passenger side door pocket. It was from a local hotel, dated the previous night. My blood ran cold. This wasn't a mountain spa retreat. It was a cheap hotel less than 20 minutes from our house. And the charge wasn't just for a room. It was for a room, to steak dinners, and a bottle of expensive champagne. My hands were shaking as I smoothed out the paper. The receipt, as it would come to be known. My first instinct was denial. There had to be an explanation. Maybe she booked it for a friend. Maybe it was a mistake. But my gut screamed at me. This was it. This was the proof I'd been subconsciously dreading. I felt a wave of nausea, followed by a cold, sharp anger. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I just sat in the driver's seat of our family car, staring at that piece of paper, and my entire world rearranged itself into a new, ugly shape. For the rest of the day, I was on autopilot. I drove to my parents', played with the kids, and smiled through dinner. But my mind was a whirlwind. I needed more than just a hotel receipt. I couldn't confront her without being absolutely certain. That evening, after the kids were asleep, I did something I never thought I'd do. I opened our shared laptop and logged into our phone account. It felt like a violation, but I had to know. And there it was. A single number, called and texted dozens of times a day for the past 3 months. Late-night calls that lasted 4 hours. Flurries of texts while she was supposedly in meetings. The call log for Friday night lined up perfectly with the time on the hotel receipt. I did a quick search of the number. It belonged to a man named David, one of her new colleagues from work she'd mentioned a few times. The pieces clicked into place with a horrifying finality. The late nights, the secret texts, the perfume, the fake trip. It was all a lie. I spent the next 24 hours in a haze, gathering my evidence. I printed out the phone records. I took a clear, undeniable photo of the hotel receipt. I even went through our credit card statements and found more suspicious charges lunches for 2 at romantic bistros. A jewelry purchase I'd never seen. Each discovery was like another stab to the heart. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was a calculated, long-term affair. She hadn't just cheated, she had built an entirely separate life. Sarah was due back Sunday evening. I told my parents I was heading home early to prepare a surprise for her. The surprise was me, sitting at our kitchen table, the evidence laid out like a prosecutor's case file. The house was dark and silent when I heard her key in the lock. "Mark, you're home early," she called out, her voice bright and cheerful. She walked into the kitchen, dropping her bags. "The trip was amazing, honey. So relaxing. You would have loved. ... Double quotes her words, trailed off. She saw me. She saw my face. Pale and green. Then her eyes fell to the table. She saw the hotel receipt, the phone bills, the credit card statements. The color drained from her face. The cheerful mask she had been wearing crumbled in an instant, replaced by pure, unadulterated shock. It was the face of someone caught red-handed, with nowhere to run and no lies left to tell. "Mark, ... what is this?" she whispered, though she knew exactly what it was. I didn't yell. My voice was eerily calm, devoid of all emotion. "This," I said, sliding the hotel receipt across the table toward her, "is from your girl's weekend. And this," I added, tapping the phone records, "is your work stuff." She just stared at the papers, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. There were no immediate tears, no desperate denials, just the silent, deafening shock of being exposed. The carefully constructed world she had built for her. Affair had just collided head-on with the one she shared with me and our children. I can explain," she finally stammered, her voice trembling. But I held up a hand to stop her. "No, Sarah, you can't. There is no explanation for this. For months, you've looked me in the eye and lied. You've stolen time from our family, money from our account, and you've destroyed the trust that was the foundation of our entire life together." The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by her ragged breathing. In that moment, I wasn't looking at my wife. I was looking at a stranger who had been living in my house, sleeping in my bed, and raising my children while betraying me in the most profound way possible. The shock on her face slowly morphed into a mixture of fear and shame. She finally sank into the chair opposite me, her head in her hands. The fight was over before it even began. The receipts had done all the talking. That night was the beginning of the end. There was a lot of talking, a lot of tears, mostly from her end, a lot of painful decisions. But standing up for myself, armed with undeniable proof, was the first step toward reclaiming my own life. It was a horrifying, heartbreaking experience, but it was also liberating. The doubt and suspicion were gone, replaced by a painful but clear certainty. I showed up with the receipts, and in doing so, I found my way out of the lie. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do, but it set me on the path to healing and finding a future built on truth. Thank you so much for listening to my story. It's not an easy one to tell, but if you're going through something similar, know that you are not alone, and trusting your gut is so important. If you found this story compelling, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more content. Your support means the world. See you next time.